Hey everybody, welcome back to another in our HTML CSS review series for those that have in fact written HTML before and just need to do a little bit of remembering. So the first thing I'm going to point out to you is this particular link, W3 Schools. It is literally impossible to remember everything. I can't do it. There's just too much to remember. So whenever you forget, W3 Schools is a pretty decent reference here. So what we're in the tutorial section. So if, for example, you forgot how to do colors, we'll say, you can go back here and they'll give you a little bit of a tip on how to do it. Now, if you're just confused as to what tag maybe you want to use, if you go down to the tag reference series on their site, they have everything that you really need here. So HTML tag list or attributes, you can go to any of these things and you can see some of the different tags and what they, just a quick description of what they do. You can click for more information. This is a good reference because inevitably you will forget and this will help you. So anyways, let's go ahead and get back to our review here. What you should have in front of you is the file that you created in the last review video. This is number 2 in the series, the file you created in number 1. So the things that I did here is I deleted a little bit of the CSS that I had here, and obviously I changed both the title and the heading to reflect that this is indeed the second review file. So please go ahead and do those things, and what we're going to do is we are going to walk through how you would write some CSS, and at the end we're going to talk a little bit about adding a link and remembering how we do that. So one thing that we're going to add a lot is both padding and margin. We're going to use those a lot of different things. The reason being that we want to make sure that we space documents and have them look the way that we want them to look. So for our padding, we don't necessarily need to do different for everyone. So for H1, maybe we want a little bit more. So we'll just put padding of 2VH for our H1. And one thing that you can do is you can then go ahead preview in the default viewer. So what you can see here is what the padding is done is that the padding is spaced around the element to make sure that it's not touching other things. So the first thing we did is we removed all of the padding and margin from everything. So you'll notice that everything else is a little ways away from, or is touching the side, except for the H1, which is indeed a little ways away. It is about 2VH away from the side now. Now obviously we don't necessarily want it to stay that way. We don't want everything to stay where it is. So what we'll do for the rest of them, we can actually add them right here even. H1, H2, H3, and H4. And when you go ahead and you separate things with a comma like that, it's going to apply that same padding to all those different elements. And indeed, we will put our paragraph and our HR into that. So everything indeed has that padding. So when you do Control S, if you keep that preview window open, what you can do is you can look at it and watch what it does. And you can see the result. So now everything is kind of over there. It doesn't line up. When you refresh your page, you see that everything is definitely a lot more spaced out. Except, of course, for our lists, because we have not changed our list CSS quite yet. Now, if we would not in normal circumstances maybe want to keep it that spread out, but for our purposes now, we definitely can. The purpose of CSS, of course, is to make the document look how you want it to look, and you have complete control over every single element. So, we'll do the same thing here for UL and OL both. We're going to put padding of, we'll say again, 2VH on there, just to make sure that they line up with everything. But for LI, And we'll see what that does. We'll save it. And you'll see that it does this. So for LI then, we actually need to go ahead and we need to add its own padding. And for that, what we're going to do is we're going to say maybe like 3VH. Oops, I forgot something. So we can actually do a little bit more here. So if on the left side, maybe we want 3VH. But on the padding, maybe for the top, we only want 1VH. Now, of course, you don't have to necessarily do it this way. There's a shortcut, and shortcuts are wonderful. So with just the word padding, you can say on the top, we want 1VH. On the right, we want 1VH. On the bottom, and then on the left, we want 3VH. And that's kind of how the shortcut works, is top, right, bottom, left. It just goes around the outside of the square. So if you save that, then you can go and you can see what this does. So you add a little bit of extra space, and the list definitely lines up a little bit better than it once did. It's still not quite right, but that's okay for now. So other things that you can add, of course, are background color. For our LIs here, our background color we're going to change to a nice light gray. And as it works out, you can indeed change, you can spell gray either way. So after you save, you'll see that our LIs now have a background color of gray. But I want those to be separated. So padding is the space around. Margin is the space between objects. So if we add a margin of 1VH, you will watch these. It looks like one block. You'll watch them spread apart. So now you have individual actual items. So now then, one last thing that we want to change before we do our links real quickly is, let's say that you want to just change the OL ones and not the UL ones. So OLLI, all of the items, LIs that are part of an ordered list. Remember, we don't have the comma here. So what we're doing now is we're being more specific with what we're identifying. And we're just going to say we want those to have a background color of, we'll say, salmon, which is a terribly ugly color, but whatever. So when you go and you refresh your page, those change colors when the OL one or the UL ones did not. So one last thing to do before we go ahead and we end this video, as class is about to start here. We're going to go ahead and do just a quick review on our links. So if you remember for links, we're going to put at the bottom of our document here, we're going to put our paragraph tag. And our links go on with the A tag. So I like to go ahead and make sure we close the tag, and we'll just put my link in there. But remember that with our A tag, you need attributes. You need more specific information. And that's what the attributes will do for you, is it will specify the things that need to happen. So the one that is going to happen all the time is the target. And for target, what we're going to do is we have underscore blank. Underscore blank makes your link open up in a new window, or a new browser tab more specifically here. But then we have href. So href, we're directing our web browser to go to another hyper location, another location on the web, and we have to specify what location that is. So remember, as you do this one, that when links in HTML require more information than you might normally get. So normally you type google.com into your browser, boom, it comes up, everything's good. But if you go, you copy this address, you'll see one of the things that that happens without us remembering is that we have all this protocol that pops up. So this HTTPS://, that is an internet protocol that says we're going to an actual web page. This HTTPS means, the S means secure. HTTP means you're going to HTML address, something that there's a whole registry of stored domain names that we're accessing one of these things. So when you go ahead and you save your file and you preview your page, right down here at the bottom you have My Link. Sorry, this is on a rough part of the screen. When you click it, it should open up Google in a new tab, like so. So with our links, if we were to do some CSS, which we absolutely will do, we have to do a couple of different things. So for the A tag, we have to say that maybe we want that to show up in red, and then we don't necessarily want it underlined, so we put our text decoration as none. And then when we put our mouse over it, hover. Remember, it's hover, not hoover. Only one O. So then maybe we can change to purple. And then we're going to go ahead and put the text decoration to underline. So it'll actually add the underline back. One thing I forgot up here, if you go ahead and add just a little bit of padding to your link just to make it look a little bit better. One other thing we can do is we hover, we can change the background color to, we'll say, light pink. P-I-N-K. So if you do Control S, save that, and then, where'd our file go here? And go ahead and pull up your preview. You should be able to see the changes that you made. I'm not totally sure where mine went to. But if that happens, we can always do File, Open in Default Viewer again. And you should see on the bottom, your link is red. When you hover, it changes, and indeed still does what it needs to do. But no underline, you hover, and all those changes happen. If you have any questions, as always, please make sure you ask. And good luck as you continue your review.